don't know, Jagoda, how this works. Please do give people my email. I did send it to you. I will answer those emails as many as I possibly can. For people in telecoms, I will take the time. Okay, I'm not there yet, but I'm also, I think I've just got some a little bit more experience to help where I can. Okay, so yeah, thank you, Mbogotos, and eggs and flowers and all the beautiful things put together, and the gentlemen that are supporting us. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Siyabonga kakhulu my sister Palesa.
You want me to continue?
Siyabonga kakhulu.
Do I field any questions from anyone? Let's see.
Sesizwile ke Mbokodo. I think I'll open up for questions for Palesa if there's any. Okay, siyabonga kakhulu kusis Palesa. I think I'll open up for questions if there are any, even if you are online. You can ask a question, then we can continue with the program. Okay, Sis Palesa.
Yes, my dear.
Oh, there's a question lapha kwi-chat yethu ukuthi ene kwakunjani like 10 20 years back ukuba umuntu wesifazane kwi-sector.
Yeah, I mentioned it just a little bit. Your environment, and that required a lot of internal strength to not be intimidated. You know what? I'm praying, in the future, there'll be a little bit more with us. But I think just generally, there's been a changes of attitudes because, and this also applies to other fields. Like I said, that ability that you're working with people and they're able to, collaborate and interact and actually listen to your opinion. Because, like I said, 20 years ago, I mentioned that you would be in a site visit or a meeting and there's Afrikaans words being thrown over and, those types of things. And you're like, okay, feeling like, am I really in the right place? But that doesn't mean you're still not going to get information and or you're going to make an impact because at least you still have your boss who's looking to you and who's responsible to make sure they grow you and they nurture you. So that was the hard part of it as well. But I think the other hard part as well was going out with friends or in church or interactions, or a party, whatever personal social interactions that you go to. And then one or two things happens when people hear that you're an engineer, they go, oh, you really, oh gosh, then they're overpraising you for your brains, or oh God, what. Or they're saying, wow, that's awesome, I admire that. Or the big one with the guys and the boyfriends some as ladies, I'll be honest with you, I've had a guy just ghost me completely. Like when he heard I was an engineer, delete, cancel my number. The truth, it happens. So, which I don't think would happen now. Now I'm thinking they would think, oh gosh, that's attractive, a woman with brains. But back then, some would be intimidated, but it differs on the different people. But those are the different dramatic events, that you have with a lot of different people, but you still had a situation where people never expected to, hear what you did. Oh, but the most interesting one of them all was how people never understand what you do. Even today, when I speak about IoT, they don't understand what I do for a living, and I'm used to it. I just say, okay, I found a simple way of putting it in nice, baby language, but they don't really understand. They just like, oh, good, it just sounds very mysterious and interesting. So, yeah, that's in a nutshell how it was like. Yeah, thank you so much.
Siyabonga. Ngabe ukhona omunye nombuzo? Any questions, ladies? Anyone with a question? So if there's no question, I think siyabonga kakhulu Sisipalesa. Your presentation was good and motivating. We hope to follow suit. Ngizocela siqhubeke ne-program yethu. Sesizobheka ama-stations ethu, starting with station 1, lo esikuwona. Comrade Michael uzosleader as UPEC Youth Convener. I'll give you a chance, Michael, ukuthi take us around. Siyabonga.
Greetings, comrades, and everyone who's joined today's event. So basically, I'm a student conveyor here at Pbict because I'm currently still studying my mechanical engineering qualification at MUT. And on the side here at Mzansi Comnet, I'm also the NOC engineer. So what the NOC is, essentially is the Network Operations Center. Now, if you remember from the previous speaker, she was speaking about the Internet of all things, and she spoke about the devices and how every company, they need ICT or they need that technical support. They won't survive without it, right? So in every company, no matter what industry you're in or irrespective of what your company does, you need ICT. So that's where the NOC comes in. So for some companies, we provide our NOC services whereby we are monitoring all their devices. It doesn't matter what device it is, as long as the device connects to the internet, we can monitor it using different monitoring tools and systems. So what you're seeing now on the screen is for a specific project with the company called Broadband Infraco and CETA. So this project is taking place in Pietermaritzburg. It's called SA Connect. So the goal of SA Connect was to provide internet connectivity to all the schools and clinics in impoverished areas, so at the farms or rural locations, give the people access to free internet, the schools and the clinics. So this is in Pietermaritzburg. What you're seeing on the screen, all these icons here represent a school or a clinic, right? So if you looking here, I'm just gonna zoom in on the screen. So you can see all the schools and the clinics. So what has essentially happened with this project is our technical team, they went to every single school and clinic. There's 87 of them, right? They've gone and they've done installations of radios, which you will still be walked through in a session later on. Radios or devices to basically get the school connected to the internet, right? And sitting next to me now is one of the operators in the NOC. She's a NOC technician that
here in South Africa, so the internet normally goes down because of load shedding, or maybe weather conditions. So as the site is down and it's the weekend also, so normally the schools would turn off the internet just to save electricity, so the school information and put it on the ticket, and we can't close the tickets or we can't resolve the tickets until the site is up. So we send out our technicians to go and check on the internet. They do troubleshooting. They check the devices, if the devices is receiving any internet, and we are able to leave notes on this system to say Uguti, the technicians have gone there. The task was to check the internet. What did they find when they got on the site? Are the cables connected properly? Are the cables connected to the correct port? And is the right equipment at the site? And they are able to do a speed test to check the speed for the internet. And if our clients do not have a password to the internet, we provide them with the password. And if that is all resolved and the internet is up and working, we are now able to resolve this ticket and close it as this issue has been resolved. So this system allows us to create basically a story on the site, giving us a history of what's been happening on that site. So there's a lot of issues that has been going on. There's another example for Ukwamashu. We had an issue, if you guys remember, Kateglutwa. So a lot of our equipment was stolen. So that's another reason why the site may be down. So my equipment was stolen, so we do not have equipment currently. So site is currently not managed. So until we get equipment and so that we can send our technicians to reinstall the equipment, the sites can be up. So on this system, it allows us to monitor and give us a history about the sites, what's been going on, how long has it been going on for, and we have a status. We have this showing us the status of the sites, status of the ticket, and the department that it's been assigned to. So we currently have the help desk department, the NOC department. We give them information, or rather they bring back information to us so that we can update this system called Splings. So basically this is another one of the monitoring systems that we use in order for us to stay in contact with our clients, as well as WhatsApp, as I mentioned before, so that we are able to make sure everybody is connected and everybody can use the internet and everybody stays connected. Thank you.
No, thanks for that, Ayanda. So essentially, what happens at the NOC, right, is we provide a 24/7 service whereby we work in shifts. There's even a night shift and all, because now you need to get ahead of the problem as soon as possible, especially when it's a client, such as a clinic. A clinic now, most of these clinics, what has happened is they never had internet before, or the internet that they were using, sometimes they couldn't afford it, so some months they didn't pay, so their systems and patients' profiles were hard to keep track of, etc. So since this project began and we've installed internet on these clinics now, they're relying solely on our internet to be up for them to get the patient's profiles and update their records. So when in this line of work, you have to be available. The service has to be available 24/7, and you have to attend to the issues as soon as they arise, because you can't have a clinic not having internet for even more than 2 hours. So we use various systems for the monitoring. We keep in contact with the client, and we have to always be available on our helpline to be answered. So interesting enough, because since this is for women today, that's what it's about. You'll find that I can tell you now, currently in the NOC or in this office where we work, there's only 2 guys out of the 15 people that work here. Most of them, it's majority women, because we found it's easier to work with women. You know, the guys, the technicians that are going on site there in Pietermaritzburg. But this system thing, we found that the ladies, they do it better. I can tell you now, the NOC, the ladies, they're the ones that made all these maps, and they've created all these systems in place. They're the reason why it flows the way it did. I'll show you even the process from the time when a client calls. This is what they've created. Because they decided that we need to follow rules for every step now to provide that efficient service. So if you look now, that the people are connecting to is a unified DOM. So currently on these sites, these are the people that are connected, either through their laptops or their phones. You can see like Eastwood Clinic, this person's connected from their laptop. This is how much data they're using. And it goes on. This person here has used 2.3 gigs already today. I wonder what they're doing. But yeah, then what the devices look like, I'll show you now. It's devices like this here, but you'll see them in person for the next presentation. But these are essentially now the devices that are giving the clients the internet. So if you're looking here, this clinic, Azalea Clinic, they've used 151 gigs of data. You see this data usage of all these places. And what's nice is they're getting all of this here for free from the government. So that's what the project is all about. So that's why with a NOC, you provide this service for various reasons, or different companies, because a lot of companies, they don't have this infrastructure, or they don't have space or the time to now hire someone, get all these screens, buy all these systems to do it. So that's what you essentially specializing in the NOC. So I believe if there's any questions, I can answer, or Ayanda can answer. So. Yes, ma'am.
Questions out too, right? Mbuzo wami wokuqala uthi, are you guys dealing with ama big facilities like iy'kole nama clinics and all kuphela noma isazodlula iye emakhaya noma isifikile emakhaya? That's question number one.
Okay, thank you so much for that question, Ayanda. To answer your question, yes, sisfikile emakhaya. We are providing internet in private in our private homes. So we do have private clients. I'm not sure if Michael, if you can show an example of a private client. Do you have one on OP Manager? So we are providing internet to private clients. So I'm just gonna try and show you here. So this is another system that we use. It's called CN Maestro. We use it to manage AMA radio, Alaikai. Okay, so here's an example of one of our private clients. As you can see, the device is online, so our client is connected, and this is one of the clients in Pietermaritzburg, Reverend Ntembu.
Okay, ngiyabonga. Umbuzo wesibili uthi, if udinga we apply, where do we go, or is this connected to le fiber hambi fagwa manje, like?
So I believe your question is, do we deal with fiber? And
If we think privately,
yes, yes.
like how do you go about it? Where do I apply?
All right. So we have a website, and also if you have the number, our help desk number. So once you call the help desk, then they do everything for you. Just give them your address. They come, they do a survey to see if there is a tower that's available. Even if there is no tower available, we have multiple solutions to get you connected to the internet. It just depends now, you as a client, what you want and the speed or quality of the internet that you want. So depending on what you actually want to achieve in your own household, we have solutions that are going to cater for all of that. And all you have to do is either you can get the number from the website, or you can call the help desk and they'll assist you. You'll have a technician doing the installation at your house probably the next day.
Thank you. I would also like to ask a question, Lana, because mostly we know ukuthi indawo eziningi that lakes ilokhuzana i-connectivity indawo ezinjengasemakhaya in deep rural areas. So you find out that they don't even have libraries. We know in nowadays everything is done online, applications, job hunting and everything. And I also saw that on the screen that you also catering for Nkandla, which are rural areas, and Upongol. I would like to ask how many rural areas so far you guys have covered, and are you still continuing with the implementation of e-connectivity to other deep rural areas? Thank you.
All right. Just to respond to that question there. So, our core business here is providing services or connectivity to the areas or places where in the rural areas, for example. So we do it for for municipalities like in Pongolo or in Richmond. And then currently now we have a project that's happening in Amlazi. It's called the 5 Rand a day. So for 5 Rand a day, you can be connected to the internet unlimited. So that is happening. We approach the tuck shop owners where they sell the vouchers now for this 5 Rand a day. And as I said, with PMB, all these schools and clinics, they all schools in poverty areas. You see that we're getting internet connectivity for the first time. But essentially, those are our main customers. It's the people that don't have access. You see. So even with in Nkandla, we catering for them, and you know how far they are. It's there by the farms. In Pongolo, that's the municipality where, even though it's a municipality, because of the area where Pongolo is in, Abo Vodacom or MTN, they don't cater for those areas. Their main areas are the suburbs where they've put their towers. So that's where we come in. We get these clients or these people that need the connectivity. We find a way by any means necessary to get them connected. But yes, Comrade Asanda, our main customers are the customers in areas where there's poverty or don't have access. That's essentially what we've built the company and its services on, is that there. So we prefer to take on projects like that there.
The question, sort of like a follow-up question. Um, so, do you wait for the municipality to reach out to you, for you guys to do projects in that certain area, or you guys also approach the municipalities to just sell your projects or sell what you sell your services? Actually, thank you.
All right. To respond to Comrade Asanda's question, it goes both ways. In some instances, we had to approach a municipality to ask for permission to build a tower, because we put up our own towers. We don't use anyone else's towers, so we put up our own towers. So we have to get approval from the municipality. They always approve because they're always happy to see that there are people that are taking the initiative to make a change, you see. Then in other instances, the municipality had taken out a tender, and then we applied for the tender and got it. But in most cases, we approach the municipality and we tell them everything, give them the full rundown of what it's about. Because with this year, even the technicians, some of these things, to get the people connected, we have to go and cut down the trees. Or we need certain things to happen now for us to get connectivity there. So we go, we inform the municipality. Most of the time, the municipality will then offer their services free of charge. They'll say, okay, we'll get someone to come and cut down this tree. They're going to meet you here. Just tell them which trees you need to be cut down, what you need to happen. So the municipalities as well, they're very supportive when it comes to projects like this here as well. Any questions? No messages online, nothing.
Just check online. Any comments? If there are
Oh, there's no
questions.
volume.
Nothing online.
Nothing online. Oh. Would you guys like to know the requirements to become part of a NOC? So to become part of the NOC, Usually what you need is either qualification in electrical engineering, cause you're dealing with devices or electricity. However, or you have to have experience in the IT space, IT diploma, degree, or alternatively you can get there's these training courses that you see all these systems that we have. They provide training courses where you get official certificates for it, and most of them they're free of charge for you to get to be part of the trainings. So this is the system that you're looking at now. This is Cambium from by Myro. So Cambium, that's where we get most of the radios from. They're a bulk supplier of radios for projects like this here, but they also offer variety trainings free of charge where you get a certificate. And then to be part of the NOC, there's just some skills you as a person have to have. Like you have to be hardworking, you have to be responsive. You can't be the type of person if you're at work and you on your phone. Because almost every 10 minutes, there's someone that's going to call you with an issue. Or you see, there's a lot of issues. Everything happens at the NOC. We have a saying that the NOC knows everything. So every other aspect of the company, the information comes from the NOC, whether it's equipment that needs to be ordered or what's exactly happening everywhere. Because that's your question. When you have about 15 projects running, you need that information as to what's happening, what equipment is there. When the technician's going there, he has to know what is he going into. Okay, which jobs take priority? You know, things like that there. So everything, it comes from the NOC. So people that work in the NOC, they hands on deck from the time they walk into the office. You'll never just see someone sitting around and they don't have anything to do. You always have something to do. Sometimes you might even have too much to do. So you have to have that also skill of managing different tasks at the same time. So that's really it if you want to become part of a network operations center.
Understand ukuthi yini NOC, even and we have a deeper understanding ukuthi i-functiona kanjani and yenzani. And I'm sure ade ngibona no CC ebuza ama questions with online. If you even want to venture on something, you need to Google, you need to research so that you can be able to know about that thing that you want to venture on. So I think even if uhlala emakhaya uleThekwini, but you know ukuthi ngakini you don't have a connectivity, you don't even have a fiber, you have network problems, you're not even reachable. So Umzansi Connect is your plug. I think your municipality wangakini, you should hook up with Ulokuzana Umzansi Connect so that you guys are going to be able to be reachable and also have a connectivity in Dawanyangagin. So we're going to move on the next item on our program, which we are going to move to another station where we're going to see manje lezinto lezi ade bechaza ku station 1 where we're going to have a practical physical devices uyibona ukuthi ena nayi ilokhuzana nayi inani and yenzani njalo bechazile but usuyibonela wena mhlambe nawe uthinte so that you can have that experience and also know ukuthi kwenziwa kanjani. So this session is going to be facilitated by Ukhet Semkomo Nonjabulo, the PEC secretary. Nopala. We have the item that needs you, station 2, where we have the practical physical devices. So we'll need Uketsem now in Opala. Nisate through. So guys, Unopala will take you to the next station. I think at this side we'll move, then they will take us through. Thank you.
Okay, sanibonani njani. The team online siyabonga. Igama Njabulo Mhlongo ngizela ku station 2 sino Comrade Michael. Sizochaza, or we just came here to explain more about the devices that have been used in the telecommunication space or in the connectivity space. And I prefer when we at a session like this, you guys to have a touch and feel of my devices. Nani bambeleni izwele, and manfunu plambi want to terminate my cable, you guys can do that. You're welcome. We can always show you and guide you how to do so. Yeah, could be an like interactive session, right? So qala nje mhlambe ngama tools that are being used most of the time. You want to allow a side cutter, a crimping tool, a crimping tool when you're crimping a cable for you to connect the devices, right? And then nanga manye ngala sinicela nisondele ningasabi bese kuba ama cable, right? A cable bese kuba ama devices khona ama radio devices or point to point, no point to multi point, khona ama AP ama access point device njoba so connect to Wi-Fi. It's basically kusuke ku connect the device kanje. And then lamanye ama radio devices lawa esuke mount kanje amanye asuke mount kumathawa amanye mount emakhaya noma kuma mask, right? So iwona ama radio device lawa kade khulunywa ngawo. So of course udinga ukuthi ube ne cable ukuthi connect device ukuze ukwazi na ukuthi ube connected. So la i-cable ufike uqale uyi-terminate or uyi-crimp kanje ukuze ukwazi ukuconnect kwi-device and then ukwazi ukuthi ulogone kwi-device and ukwenza ama-configurations, right? So angithanda ukuthi siye much more in depth into ama-configurations, but for now sifuna ukuthi nibe nayo i-touch and feel, and makhona imibuzo eninayo nibuze ukuthi le device yini yenzani, or noma mawufuna mhlawumbe ukwazi okay how do you terminate i-cable, we can always show you nawe uzenzele ufunda ukuthi ukwazi ukuyenza. Angazi noma Michael mhlawumbe now you can come through makhona okunye. Much further.
I think I'll just also talk from here. All right, guys, as you can see on the table, we have different devices for different operations, right? So we're gonna start with the main device. For you, before you even get the internet, before anything along those lines happen, you need to connect to the tower. So at the tower, there's a huge radio there. I'm gonna bring out that radio now. It's too big to put on the table. So you'll go to the school or the clinic. Depending on what's on the tower, you'll choose which radio you're gonna use. Some are more powerful. The specifications are different. Some are more powerful. Some are meant for different things. So it depends on the distance as well. If you need the radio to be able to shoot the signal through the trees, maybe you'll want to use this radio here instead. So it all depends on once you've gone to the school, before you even install or do anything, you go there with your binoculars, you climb on the roof, you look all over and you see, okay, what's blocking that tower, what's doing this here. On your laptop, you also run frequency tests, you see what frequency is available to use or whatnot, right? So these two that I have here are the radios. So at the tower, there's that big radio that's standing there. So each school or clinic will have a radio similar to this here or this, but there's different types. You'll find it's mounted there on a pole like this here. It's mounted, it will have a dish around it. It's pointing to the tower, right? Then with your radio, now what happens is you got this device on a metal pole outside. So during thunderstorms or lightning storms, what's gonna happen? The lightning's gonna strike that thing. Now, with your cables, you have the cables running from outside going now inside. So now if lightning strikes, it's gonna go inside and it's gonna fry the whole school's electrical supply. How do you stop that? You stop it with this here. This here is called a surge protector. As you can see on the pole, it's here below the radio. So the radio connects to the surge, then the surge protector is what goes inside the building to go connect to whatever it's going to connect to, right? So the surge, when it detects that there's too much power coming into it, it's coming from the radio, this here blows itself up to stop the electricity from traveling further. Because there's a lot of cases where the radios, they always struck by lightning, Jay. You go to the site, by the time you go there, the radio's on the floor and it's black and it's open. It was struck by lightning, right? So these two, this is outside. This is what's happening outside. You're getting whatever you're getting from the tower. You're getting the internet from the tower. It's coming here to the radio. The radio is not what you're gonna connect to with your phone, right? The radio is just gonna get the internet from the tower and bring it there. Now the radio has the internet, it's here. The radio needs to know now what to do with the internet. It must send it somewhere. It must send it to something there. Because all the radio it knows is that it must take internet from the tower. That's as far as it goes, right? So now, to answer the question now as to what happens with the internet, this is where this here comes into place. Now, if you look there, there's a cabinet. You'll see this thing in that cabinet, but they're silver, right? So what this thing here is, this is called a router. Not like the router that you used to. This here is called a router or CPE, right? For anything to happen, basically in IT or anything involving devices, you need the center of everything. Basically the brain of what's happening or what's going to happen. Because the radio is sending something. You need something that is going to interpret what the radio is sending, and you tell it what it's going to do with what it's getting. So this here, you are going to do what is called configure. You log into this here from your laptop with a cable connected to it. You do the configs or programming for each port or whatever. That's once you do that, you're telling this here that this here, the radio will connect onto here. It's connecting on here with a cable, right? So there's a cable that goes from the radio to this. Okay, this here is getting something from the radio. You tell it what to do with whatever it's getting from the radio, right? So this is the brain. Now you need something that is going to give the people access to the internet. So now the radio, it took internet from the tower that it's pointing to. It sent the internet here. People still can't connect to this thing because it's not meant for that. This here is meant to tell everything else what to do. So this now has internet coming from the radio. What is it going to do? So what you're going to do is on another port, you can see this thing has a lot of ports. You are going to plug in. Now in this row here, it's what we call these devices APs, right? So APs, they get mounted on the ceiling. Some of them get mounted outside. This is what will give you the name on your phone for the Wi-Fi. Where you see it, you put in the password, you connect to the internet. But when you're connecting to the internet, this is what you're connecting to, the AP. There's different types of APs depending on what you want to do. This is for outside. Some schools, for most schools or clinics, you want to give the people access to the internet as well on the outside. You as a patient, maybe you're outside waiting or whatnot, you get access. So this here is on the outside, right? Even this here, you can see this here, this one here is quite big. Then these ones here are for inside. Put them on the ceiling. There's a cable that runs from it going to this. It's getting the internet from here. This here is meant for internet now, for people to connect to it. Now this is the device that you're getting internet from, right? Then these other devices, alternatively, what you can do, because this thing has a lot of ports. Imagine how many ports this thing has. It has about 10 ports, right? So that means you have like 10 devices to get connected to the internet. So in this room, I'll have this device here on the wall. Then I'll go put this in the office next door. I'll run a cable there. All of them are connecting to this one thing. And it's sending internet to all of them. This here, maybe for your TV, you connect this here as well. It's going to have internet. This is like your router. Alternatively, if you don't want to run a cable, what you can use these two for, these here are called CPEs as well. But they don't do what this here does. Not to the extent of what this here does. But this here, what's interesting, you can see it has antennas. It has the capability of extending your Wi-Fi without you running the cable. So if you have this here in this room here, and you want internet for the person there, maybe they can't connect to the internet here, it's too far. You're just going to go plug this in there. You've already configured this here that it's going to get internet from using its antennas, getting it from this device here. Because all of this here, it works, trust me, it works with electricity. internet travels on electricity. So, you know, usually you used to electricity just being something for your lights or whatnot. Internet it travels via electricity. How that is possible is with this device that you see here. It's just that I can't move it, but it's here on the table. You can even come close if you want to see. This here, this is called a PoE. It stands for Power over Internet. This here, because now you ask yourself the question, how is this radio sending internet to this here? How is that even possible with a cable? This is a special cable. You will see when you're being taught now how to crimp this cable. This cable has different wiring inside of it, right? So it's connecting to the radio, right? Now the radio is getting internet. It must send whatever it's getting to here using this cable, right? The cable alone is not enough because the cable is just transporting it. The PoE is what this radio is sending internet or information via electricity to this device. This device can then say, okay, this is internet or whatnot. So then it sends it to this here, you see. So that's basically how everything here works. Hope you all understand. You can even feel these things. I want to. It's quite heavy. Ungayithatha man. Uyibheke nje. Uthi man ime kanjani. Yabo? This is the radio. Yeah, yangaphandle. Yeah, outside. Yeah, for outside. Yeah. Yeah, for inside. These are for outside. You can see by the design for the rain, so the rain doesn't. So you see, remember I mentioned the tuck shops in Mlazi? They have this outside the tuck shop. Yeah.
So lama device lawa adinga ukuthi abe connected. Okusho ukuthi right? I-cable ahlukahlukene ukuthi ukwazi ukuconnecta ngayo, right? So manje sizocrimpa i-cable ukuze sikwazi ukuthi ngikhombise ukuthi i-cable icrimpwa kanjani nanokuthi iconnectwa kanjani, right? I-network cable le engiphethe la nakamanye ngibamba nawo cable nje ningasabi, and then ama-RJ45 lawa ama-connector shuthi lawo uthi masesenzile i-color combination and then sobe sesiyayicrimpa le cable, sicrimpa ngama-RJ45 connector iwona lawa, right? Okay, so number 1 qala ustrip i-cable yakho, baphume bonke owaya bo-8 phakathi. Banamapheza ahlukahlukene, khona ipheka orange, ipheka green, ipheka brown, ipheka blue. So la sizoterminate standard uTB56AB, right? Shuthi soqala ngo hlukahlukene, right? Khona white orange, white orange, orange, white green, blue, white blue, green, white brown, brown. Mawubukisisa nje, it's like solid, it's like mixile solid, mix solid, mix solid kanjalo up until the end. Ama wires are 8, right? So sizo crimpa imancane ngibambela sizo thathi RJ45 connector siqondise kahle uwire bethu ne combination. Yezwakala ne combination, right? Bese ke siwafaka phakathi la kuleli khanda, siwaphushe, we push it in. It's too long. So once we have cut our wires and then we put through the RJ45 connector, And then we use a crimping tool. And we make sure that it's crimped correctly. So as you can see, the cable has been crimped on one side. So you do the same on the other side. Use your color combination. The combination must be the same on end to end in order for you to get the connection. Okay. You take through your connector, you push it inside, make sure that the wires are all straight, and then you take your crimping tool, okay, crimping cable. So you have your network cable, or they call it a fly lead, right? So the very same cable, it will connect from your CPE device or your PoE injector to the router, the basemakhaya Wi-Fi router. Then langemuva you have port. They are called Ethernet port. So this is your Ethernet cable. So this is where you connect. This is how you connect, and then that's it. So you do find other distributors or vendors, they make lama cable for customers. So you just buy a cable. Even stores like Bootcamp, they do have it now. You just buy this network cable in order for you to connect to your Wi-Fi router at home. Even if you have a smart TV, you can still use this TV. You can still use this cable to connect to the Wi-Fi router. So this is how you make a cable. So is anyone outside again? Yeah, this is your program, guys. So you can have touch and feel, because these engineers, this is what they do. So number one is to you first strip the cable. Yes. And then best then yes, when the shots are damaged, best then we pack as one by one. This way. white, orange, orange. Sizonga white, green.
White screen.
Yes. Sizonga white, green.
It's green.
Sizonga blue. Sizonga blue. Supela green. Sizonga blue. Yeah. Sizonga white, blue. Yes. Sizonga
White, orange,
mhm.
then green,
White, white, green. Yes.
then Isabuma, white, blue,
Mhm. It's white, orange, orange. Right. Bese kuzo white, green. Bese kuzo blue. No, blue, green usala ngale. Bese kuzo blue, white, blue.
okay,
Bese kuzo green. Bese white, brown. Bese brown. Bese sifaka ikhanda. Make sure ukuthi wayaba kuba straight. Yeah. So that looks good. So ngathatha ke make sure ukuthi phambili ku straight. Yeah, phezulu.
cutting,
Yeah. Nazo. Hayi. Ishande eqondile into ecokemeke lezo crimper la. Into ecokeme lezo crimper la. Bese uyayipush ikebuli yakho. Uthatha icrimper. Next to the blue. Yeah, pin pendule. Ingene njengoba ikhombisa la. Ukuthi bheka phezulu. Yes. Iphusha nje bese ke pendule futhi. Pendule. Yes, yeah. Yangena. Okay, kulukubambela ukhombisa la. Mafaka phezulu. Pendule bheka phezulu. Yes. Oh, sorry. Short cable iphushekile phakathi. Nazo. Pendule kanje. Kanje futhi. Kanje. Bambele la. Kanje. Yes, bese uyayiphusha bese uyayicrimper. Sikrimpekile. Asiphinde sizale. Yeah. Asize la umfowethu bayigama. Sibusiso. Okay. Khamba kahle Sibusiso. Yes, esikhamba kahle. Okay. Okay. Hayi relax. Asiphela igama lasisi. Winile. Welile hayi. Yeah, white, orange. White, green. Blue, white, blue. Green. White, green. White, green, yes. White, green. Mhm. Yes, blue, white, blue, green, white, brown. Anomikhona imbuzo nisa right. Can we see the importance of a cable? Because without a cable, a crimp you won't have a connection.
Oh, hey, comrade, I'm not showing these people that radio on the tower.
Oh, the people.
Okay. Alright, so we need a first.
Yes.
Sabo, feel it right?
Yeah, I feel
Cable.
good. Feel good.
Feel it right. Alright, Sabo. What's the crimp you ala? Leo, oh, from keeper. Sabo. Okay.
There's the radios that you can find on the tower. Some of them are bigger than this here. If you want to imagine taking this here up a tower and having to, yeah, well, it is called a Madunsa. Madunsa. Yeah.
So, for us to get the connectivity, that's what you use. Lama pole, labad. So we practice. Yeah. So that is what was communicate. So it's a line of sight. So that's what the connectivity. Because now mangani la angele endlini nase ma business. But this one is the one that supplies.
Yes. You can't even carry it going up because you're gonna put this on a tower. Now on a proper tower, I'm sure you've seen those red and white towers. You're climbing up. Someone has to be at the bottom with a rope. You push it like through a rope, through a system, and it mustn't drop because now these radios, they're like 200,000 rand. So you just imagine dropping it and you're there on the tower now. You end up with a problem. So all the schools, when this here is on top of the tower, these radios I was telling you about, they're all pointing to this here. So, yeah, there's even ones that are bigger than this. It's not even the biggest one. Yeah, well. So there's different types. But no, I just wanted to show you one of these radios. This one here is faulty. So that's why it was taken out. Just one last thing. This is just something extra on the side. This is a fiber cable. So when you hear about people coming to put fiber or Vodacom in your house, this is the cable that they're actually using. Now this cable is very fragile because it has glass in it. So it breaks easily. You usually have an option. You either use this here or use fiber. The fiber is faster, right, than this. This is copper, this is fiber. Fiber is faster. That's why you'll find when you want a fiber at your house, it's quite expensive. Because there's fiber engineers specifically for fiber when they're coming to install it or whatnot. So just be careful. And they have cables like this running across the provinces. You see the sites in Pietermaritzburg, what's happening, how they're getting internet from Durban. So here from Durban, the internet goes via fiber, a fiber cable that goes from Durban to Pietermaritzburg. Then from Pietermaritzburg, then we start using the radios to get it there to the schools or clinics. But now just imagine from here going to Pietermaritzburg, it's such a long cable, right? There's so many, when it breaks, how do you even begin to know where it broke? Where do you start? That's why you now have an industry of fiber engineers or fiber technicians where they do calculations, they run tests. Most of the time they'll go to a spot. Maybe they'll go in between Durban and Pietermaritzburg just to find that the breakage wasn't even there. And they have to now trace. Imagine tracing such a long line. It takes them, sometimes it can even take them days to end up finding where the fault is. But yeah, that's Pbict. Remember I said that it's faster than a copper cable.
What was the question?
So la,
Yeah.
say something ihotela noma i-mall or something ngenza umzekelo we-facility enkulu. Right. So this yini igama le thingy?
This cable here?
No, the black one.
Yeah. This
Yeah.
is a router.
Okay, i-router leya.
Yeah.
Into eyodwa le, efana nani?
Yeah.
So makuyihotela isuthi mhlambe ngoba zizoba ningi but i-cable the thing le izoba yodwa noma nazo zizoba ningi ukuze zikwazi ukumesha lapha ngoba na thing le azobe maningi mhlambe eshona phansi lapha ngazi ngenze any sense. Ngiyayenza?
This receive signal,
Right.
and then this route noma switch. It's depend ukuthi la roomini sibangaki. If njobe each and every hotel uthothi nama rooms number or 50. Yabo.
Yeah.
So this will distribute signal esiqhamuka wherever.
Yeah.
Is nesiyehlisa la nesiyidistribute. It's more for distribution.
Oh,
Then
okay.
it's a receiver. Then it sends that, then it distributes into different places.
So ngisho ngathiwa bawu-10 laba lozo loke
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Depending on how many devices, how many users, azokwazi anti nama-printer nawo included, nabantu ama-users asenza i-compute.
Yeah. So basically what she's asking now, in a situation if it's a building and it has different floors, you're not gonna have one cabinet. Because with this cable, this is the cable you're gonna use almost 90% of the time. You barely use fiber for within the building, those type of connections. Because now you can't, through a building running this fragile cable, you can't. So you'll be using this cable. Now, the thing you must know about this cable, it has capabilities. Its color actually means something. This is Cat 5. There's still Cat 4, Cat 6. You see, like that black one, it's a different cat to this here. But the one thing they all have in common is there's a certain length to which you can run this cable. You can't just make this cable as long as you want it to be. So in a building with different floors, you won't have one cabinet because you have to cater for the different floors. You'll have maybe a cabinet on the 6th floor, another one on the 4th floor, then another one on the 2nd floor. Each cabinet will have a cable connecting each router to it. And then these things here will be all over the building connecting to whichever floor it's connecting to. But just know, these cables, there's a certain limit. Even when you're running this cable, it's fairly, you have to do it very carefully as well. Because now, this cable, when you're running it around the corner and it does this, and you see that it's even become whitish here. This cable's broken. I can't use this cable anymore. So now, what you have to do, you have to cut off this end and use the rest. So now, most of the time, when you're running and you're not careful, you have to run it across corners. You don't even run it across a corner the way you think. It goes with a loop around the corner. You have to make it go in a loop. It's going around the corner. So, just trying to make a demonstration. I'm going to use this corner as an example. So in this situation, you wouldn't run it like this around the corner. It must go like this. You see, creates like a loop. Because when you're running the cable, you're running it in e-conduit anyway. I don't know if you know what conduit is. It's like that skirting that you're seeing there at the bottom. You see, so you can't just by the corners you're doing all this here. Because the cable it's bending, it's gonna break. Now the whole building you're gonna have to change the cable. Because you won't be able to know. Now if you ran it going to the second floor, and it had so many corners. There's no way for you to even see where it broke. You end up having to change the cable, and these cables are fairly expensive, you see. But different cables, depending on the cat, like Cat 6 is very strong. I think Cat 6 is yellow, I'm not sure. I don't remember what color it is. But it's thicker, so it's tougher to bend. Then like the strongest one, this black one here is specifically for outside. Black is for outside. It's a very strong cable to withstand the rain and all of that. And because usually your connection will be the longest when it's coming from outside, so we use this on the towers. This one here, you can run it to up like 200 meters, 500 meters. This is what you can run for a long distance, but only outside. That's what it's meant for. Once you start getting inside the building, inside the cabinet, you start using these. You can see there's different colors because they different cats, so they have different speeds and different uses. So the cabling itself, it has that variety. Depends what you want to do with it.
Thank you very much, colleagues. I hope everyone enjoyed this session, and also you were motivated and you even planning to start another degree. I'm not saying the degree that you're doing right now, you should drop it, but after you finish the degree that you're doing, you are looking to venture or explore the engineering side, especially the networking. I would like, before we go to our next speaker, we're going to skip the break time from our program and allow Mr. Zwelakhe Davis from Telecommunications Fundamentals and Career Path ukuthi asijoyine because he has been waiting from Zoom. So I would like to take this opportunity ngibuza ubhuti la eduze kwethu who's also a participant in this program ukuthi ubani wakabani and uqhamukaphi yini ayenzayo.
Igama lami nguSibusiso kwaBhambula, ngihlala eMoben Heights, kade ngifunda amangosuthu IT networking.
Thank you so much. We'd like to move to station 1 so that we can allow Mr. Zwagele to come in and join us.
Yes, you're audible. Just a minute. We'll just give you a chance to speak just now.
Okay.
Just moving from the another station to this other workstation.
All is well. You let me know and start.
You can start.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Sanbonan Kamalam Zwelakhe David. Believe it or not, I'm actually from KZN. Ngikhulele endaweni abathi seClermont eFenen. Makukuthi nejwayele itheku, you will know within endaweni Pinetown. So ngifunde endaweni ekuthiwa ise-ML Sultan Technicon. This was like way back in the day, and yeah, it was very, very interesting. I studied electrical engineering and found myself in this wonderful industry called telecommunications. So fast forward to now, I'm now into technology training, but I'm best positioned to tell you about the fundamentals of telecommunications and also to give you an idea of how do you get into the industry, what do you need to do, and how do you need to do it. So, yeah, for you to be in telecommunications, you need to be a disciplined person. By disciplined, I mean you need to be someone who is willing to work hard. Work hard in the sense you need to be able to do something you don't like, but make it seem as if you like it. Not everybody likes to read. Not everybody likes work on a problem. But if you do it like it, it becomes as though you are, happy. But that's the type of discipline we are talking about. So, what is telecoms? Telecommunications is a word we are using to describe this industry. Chazani telecoms. Telecommunications. Well, telecommunications is like a big elephant in the sense that depending on who is describing it and where they are standing, it will look like a very, very complicated animal. Meanwhile, it's very simple. The person standing in front of an elephant describing it will say, this thing has got 2 horns and a long trunk. The one standing at the back will say it's got a big bum and a small tail. The one standing at the side will say, hey, this thing has got legs like 2 trunks. But they're all describing the same thing. Telecommunications is exactly like that. Depending on where and how you are approaching it from, some people will make it sound very complicated, some people will make it sound very simple. Take case in point. There are 3 things that come together to make a telecoms environment. You've got the wireless. I've been looking at your practicals there. Some refer to the wireless, some refer to the wire side of it. And then, of course, you've got your IT side coming through together. Now, the telecommunications industry has not been there for very long. It has basically been around for about 40 years, if I'm not mistaken, slightly less than 40 years. So, this industry called telecommunications, or ICT as a whole, has a huge impact because it cuts across each and every industry, each and every job, each and every location is touched by telecommunications. I'll give you an example of what I mean. We used to have the banking industry, the banks, as the biggest industry of all. The guys that deal with money, banks, been around for about 450 years. That's how big the industry of money and banking is. But here comes telecommunications, not more than 40 years old, and it's able to challenge them and give them a good run for their money. In fact, everybody else is scared of telecommunications because it can literally take over anything and everything. Let me give you an example. We've got the banks. They collect money, they send money to people, and all of that. But Vodacom or MTN or Rain or Telkom can decide they want to do the same thing. They can say, all right, banks, we don't like you, so we're going to compete with you. And they can say, whoever buys airtime can be able to send it to anyone in the country. You'll be able to receive that airtime as cash on the other side. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? You can buy airtime, 250. You can be a Claremont, you can be a Pinetown, you can be a Mlazi, or anywhere. And you want to send that money to Ugogo or Maputa or Mpangeni or anywhere. So by literally buying the airtime, sending them the code, your voucher, they can go to another outlet on the other side of the country and give them that code and get the cash. And they can do this without involving the bank. Do you understand how powerful telecommunications is? You can give money in one part of the country and take it out on the other part of the country without involving the banks. So that's how big telecommunication is. That's how powerful it is. Imagine right now, I am in Pretoria. I'm talking to a group of people who are in KZN. I'm talking to you now. You are hearing me now. You're not hearing me next week. You're not hearing me in a month's time. You are hearing me now. So that is the power of telecommunications. This is why it is such an important industry. It cuts across anything and everything, including the army, including you name it. Doctors nowadays are feeling threatened because of telecommunications, because you can be in one part of the world and do an operation on someone on another part of the world. In other words, I can be a doctor or a surgeon in Pretoria and operate on Uguamakuta because of the technology. We are talking the cellular networks, we are talking fiber networks, we are talking all of these things put together. We will be able to make sure that things happen. So people are threatened by telecommunications because it seems like it can do anything and everything you want it to do. Take what they're talking about nowadays, 5G. We still have the tip of the iceberg when it comes to 5G. 5G will literally take over everything and anything and everything. Imagine with 5G at the moment, cars can be able to drive themselves. Cars can be able to move around and do anything and everything. In fact, it's the human beings who are not yet comfortable to allow the cars to drive themselves and do all of these things. We are afraid. But a company called Tesla has already started experimenting with this in the US. So telecoms is broad, telecoms is wide, telecoms cuts across each and every industry, each and every sector. There is nothing you can do nowadays without telecommunications. You can buy a fridge. With that fridge, you can program it to measure the amount of milk in the fridge. And with it being connected to the LAN cable, like you saw those cables that you were dealing with, the Cat 5, the Cat 6, you can take a fridge connected to a Cat 5, you can take a fridge connected to Wi-Fi in the house. Via the Wi-Fi, it is connected to fiber. Through that fiber, it goes into the internet. From that internet, it is then able to communicate with Pick and Pay and order milk for you. You can program your fridge to be able to buy your groceries for you, and the Pick and Pays of this world and the Checkers of this world have got people on scooters who will bring it to your doorstep. So telecommunications is huge. Telecommunications is powerful. Telecommunications depends on us, how we want to use it and how everything comes together. So I was just trying to paint a picture of telecommunications in terms of what it can do. Nowadays, you can watch TV on your phone. Gone are the days when you used to have a watch, you used to have a phone, you used to have a TV, you used to have a computer. All of these things were separate. Nowadays, they are all one device. So your watch can be your cell phone because there are smartphones and everything. The same with your TV. Your TV can now be a smart TV connected to the internet, connected through Wi-Fi and fiber and all of these things. And you can be able to use your TV to read your emails. You can be able to use your TV to communicate with other people. So that's just the basic intro as to what telecommunications is, the power that it has and it possesses, and what people can be able to do with telecommunications. Now, let's get a bit into how you get yourself into telecommunications. You get yourself into telecommunications obviously by studying. Now, the people that come into this industry come either from universities, technicons as they used to be called, or Pbict colleges. You need to be someone who loves to read and problem solve. If you don't like reading, if you don't like problem solving, then you can't be a technical person in this industry, because technology is always changing. Technology doubles itself every 7 years. If you remember what the cell phones looked like 7 years ago and what they did, and compare them to what they look like now and what they did and they do now, there's a huge difference. So you will constantly be studying in telecommunications. You will always be reading because the technology is going to change. First, we only used cell phones just to make calls. We only spoke. Then after that, things started changing so much. People are WhatsApping and doing all sorts of things. That means it's forever changing. So now, this is the reason why you need to have a bit of an engineering background or an IT background to be able to be a technical person in telecommunications. And unfortunately, this comes with a bit of maths. I'm not talking, oh yeah, by the way, I've looked around in that group of yours and you guys seem to be a bit young. I'm not meaning this in a negative way, but I mean this in that you guys have your careers ahead of you. So, mathematics is key. I'm not talking about maths lit. Maths lit, oh no, that is just arithmetic. That just helps you to add, subtract, divide, multiply. We're not talking that type of mathematics. That mathematics is arithmetic. We are talking calculus, algebra, and all of these other things that force you to problem solve, force you to sit, focus, think, and get the things right. So that type of maths is the important type of maths that you need to be able to problem solve, find what the problem is, fix it, come up with an improved way of getting things done. So we need mathematics. We need physics as well. Now, physics is important because it explains all these things that you can't see that are in the network. They talk about frequencies, RF, radio frequencies, kind of like what the SABC radio uses so that you can be able to listen to Ukhozi, Umhlobo Wenene, all of that. Signals are being transmitted in the air, and with your naked eye, you can't see them. These signals move information back and forth. To understand that part of the world and that part of technology, you need physics, unfortunately. You can't get around it. You can't become an engineer without the maths and the physics, because the physics helps you understand how information is flowing in the air to get to you. Earlier on, there's a gentleman there, I forgot his name, who works at the NOC, who was telling you about the NOC and also telling you about how these sites work and how everything is connected. And he mentioned a very nice word called radios. He said there are radios on top of towers. And if you are a layman, if you are an ordinary person who does not have an engineering background, who does not have an engineering or telecommunications or IT background, to you, a radio, no matter at all, really, that's a radio. But in our space, that is not the radio we are talking about. We get very technical in telecommunications. We say that what Ukoko has got on the side of her bed, which you listen to, is a receiver, because it receives the signal from the SABC tower. And then we say what is sitting at the tower at the top is a transmitter, because it sends the signal, and then the one sitting next to you or the one sitting next to Ukoko is the actual receiver. That is in its simplest form. Things can get complicated. So we then say, what is a cell phone? A cell phone has the ability to transmit and to receive. Other words, you can talk on the cell phone and you can listen, meaning it transmits and receives. So what does that make a cell phone? A cell phone is a transceiver, because it's something that has the ability to transmit and receive. So going back to the radios that we are talking about have the ability to transmit and receive a signal, but we call them radios. Not because they are like the radio in broadcast that Gogo listens to, but because their function is to send and receive information over the air. The same way your cell phone sends and receives information, the towers in telecommunications are also sending and receiving information. It's a very fast-paced, very dynamic environment that requires you to be cool, calm, and collected all the time. The salaries are good in telecommunications, I will not lie to you, but they don't come easily. They don't come for free. You have to be someone who's willing to work hard. Hard being the operative word, because to get your degree, to get your diploma, to get your N6, comes with a lot of reading, comes with a lot of studying, comes with a lot of everything. And yes, telecoms is dynamic, not only in the sense that you can be a technical person, but you can also be a manager. But you can't manage if you have not worked. So you also need to be able to deal with people, deal with difficult characters. Telecommunications is high pressure. It's a high pressurized environment. So they don't have time to explain a whole lot to you. You're expected to know, you're expected to read, and this is where the discipline comes in. Be prepared to read. Be prepared to know what you're talking about. Be prepared to go and do research. Don't be someone who wants to be spoon-fed. Don't expect people to give you the information. Be the type of person who can go out there, find information, proofread it, make sure it's right. Long hours, a lot of driving, a lot of everything. When you work in telecommunications as a technical person, there are very, very few chances that you will be based in an office. There are towers, there are masts. You have to drive around, go to this place, fix that, go there, fix that, go there, fix that. So you need to be someone who's prepared to travel, willing to go around the country, go around the world, go to different places and do what you need to do. And you need to be able to have very good people skills. You need to be able to get information from people and give information to people in a very quick and efficient way. So it requires a special type of person to be in telecommunications. If you are an introvert, you will still make it, but you will be confined generally to the technical side of things. If you are an extrovert, the type of person that talks a lot, then you will find yourself being in a managerial position, you will find yourself being in a training point of view, or training perspective. So there's a whole lot of things that you can do. So that is how the technical people come into the industry, come into the business, and that's what they do. But there are other people who did not come in via the technical side of things or through school. There are people who came in when opportunities were coming through. I'm not sure if you guys will remember this, but emalokishini bekunama-container. Ama-container ka-Vodacom, ama-container la besenza khona ama-phone call. Bufike la kufaka imali, ukwazi ukufona nje, ama-container bekhona yonke indawo. Business opportunities were made for people of color, people of our heritage, to come into this industry as well. So some of them came through via business opportunities. They started to get into the network business by buying a container, attending container, a phone, attending one, attending two, attending three. Those people, with time, got exposed to the industry and started building their own networks. For them to build their own network, they're now required to speak to the regulatory authority in the space called ICASA. ICASA is the one that gives you permission to build a network. You can't just take a cable. You know how with ESCOM, the people can just connect to Gezi, athathe esinye isixhobo, basixhumele esinye isixhobo ngowaya or ngoline, Hey, telecoms, you can't do that. You can't have this in your another. It's highly regulated. So when you connect your own stuff in your own house, you're fine. But once you start moving from your house to another house or your house across the street, you need to have a license. For that license to happen, you need to speak to ICASA. And for ICASA to listen to you, you need to have money. Typically, not too long ago, a few months back, ICASA had a auction where they were selling spectrum for Vodacom, MTN, Cell C, Rain, and Telkom to have frequencies for 5G. These 6 companies that I'm talking about spent in total 14 billion rand to be able to send information back and forth in the sky that you and I cannot see with our naked eye. Vodacom, MTN, Cell C, the big 6 companies already spent 14 billion rand. That number is a 1 and a 4, not 6 zeros behind it. As we all know, a million has 6 zeros, but a billion has, can anyone tell me how many numbers? 9. Yeah, you've guessed it. 14 billion rand was spent just for air, just for the rights to be able to send information. So the telecoms industry is huge. The telecoms industry has a lot of money in it. The CEO of Vodacom, the CEO of MTN can tell you that their tax that they pay to SARS after getting a salary for a year is anywhere between 3 and 7 million rand. That's how much they are paying. That's not how much they are getting. So this industry, depending on who you are and where you are and where you're placed, it gets a lot of money. But that comes with the responsibility and you knowing exactly how to do what you need to do. Just the other day, CEO of MTN just got paid 81 million rand just for doing a few things that he needed to do. That's one person who's black getting 81 million rand just for doing their job for a year. So there's a lot of money. It's a huge industry, very impactful, very dynamic. It can work with any and every other industry. In fact, it can take over any and every other industry, depending on how it is regulated. It has the ability, if people are careless, to make it seem as if it will take over jobs. But in fact, with telecommunications, we can help the industry, the country, the world to create higher paying jobs, better quality jobs than what we currently have. Look at countries like Japan, look at countries like Germany. Those are countries that are noted. Those are countries that have a lot of robotics and telecommunications. Yes, there's a few people who work and do general work and manual labor, but the quality of the jobs that come through because those countries have embraced technologies are huge. You can have a factory with robots connecting everything, building cars, doing whatever, and very few people working there. Yes, you will lose in the workforce. In other words, you will have very few laborers, but you will have more engineers. You have a lot of people that you will require to program those and connect everything together. So the quality of the jobs then improves rather than it taking away the jobs that are seen to be general and labor related. You know what I mean? So imagine in the future, because of technology, because of telecommunications, you might not necessarily need to go and visit a doctor, a GP. You can literally go in front of a box or in front of a little machine, you plug in or you connect there. Because you can plug in and connect with your phone can read your pulse. Your pulse and everything from your phone, it can then convey your vitals. Your vitals being your heart rate, your heartbeat, and all of these things, your blood pressure into the machine. Meaning that what we needed a nurse to do in a hospital, can now be done by the cell phone or it can be done by the watch. It feeds that information into this box. You tell it what is wrong with you. You tell it your symptoms. It will be able to diagnose you and be able to send a prescription. So just with telecommunications, you can change and revolutionize how healthcare is done. The technology is there. It exists. It is possible as we speak. It is just the people who are not yet ready for this thing to happen. So this is how powerful telecommunications is. It's very dynamic and it requires a special breed of person, someone who's willing to work hard, someone who's willing to constantly study and read and update yourself. A person who knew telecommunications 10 years ago does not know telecommunications now because it has changed. At some point in time, I don't know if some of you remember this, but at some point before the Vodacoms and the MTNs of this world came about, I'm talking an era before 1994, specifically around the 80s. In the 80s, you were the man when you had a car with a phone inside, a telephone inside the car. You know, this is before cell phones. You were the man. You had a car, and in the car you had a phone. You were seen as someone important. You were seen as a businessman, as a prominent person. So as a result of how technology was then and how it is now, the person who knew that technology of how the phone works in the car is no longer relevant now because that is the first generation of technology. We are now talking about 5G, the fifth generation, leading us into a different industry. We are now approaching, or we are now in the fourth industrial revolution. So things have changed and things will continue to change. Imagine a situation where, because of technology, you will not need to go to school, you will not need to study, but in fact you will have a memory chip embedded in you that will allow you to download information very quickly. Well, the technology is there as we speak. If you look at your bank cards, you are now able to swipe and touch things and you're already paying with your phone. Because of ICT, because of technology, we are going to do away with money. The coins that you're seeing, the papers that you're seeing, they're all going to disappear. They're all going to go away, and then eventually everything is going to be paperless. Kind of like how we're swiping around and doing things now, but it's going to be even more in future. So I think I have spoken for a while. I was allocated, I think, a few minutes. I'm not sure if I still need to carry on and give examples in terms of what technology or telecommunications can do, or can I then open the floor for anyone with questions to come through? If anybody is looking for any insight, advice, or anything like that, now would be a good time to come through and ask those questions. If there are any questions, please come through.
Thank you, Mr. Zwelakhe.
Should I carry on talking?
Thank you, Mr. Zwelakhe. We'll just take questions because of time. We have question on the chat. The first question was, is there any international certificate in the telecom industry? And the second question is, how can we involve a girl child into the telecom into the telecom space at a very young age? For now, I think we have those questions. I think you can come through to answer those questions. Thank you.
The first one about the international certification. Girls are already involved in telecommunications. In your home, in your house, there's a radio, there's a TV, there's internet, there's um, there's fiber, there's all of those things. That is the end of it. That is the CPE part of it, customer premise equipment. That's where now you as an ordinary individual or as a person get to interface with this technology. You can be an installer, you can be the engineer who designs the network, you can be it depends on the level of involvement that you want to get to. Right now, as we are speaking, we are all participating in this industry. You are viewing me through a screen, I am viewing you through a screen. And behind these screens, there's a whole lot of equipment that make this possible. There's a whole value chain of how people get to interact and deal with this technology. So you can start by knowing how to connect things in your home. Then if you are interested in that, find out a bit more as to how does the fiber come to your home, or how does the Wi-Fi router work? How does it get the signal from Telkom and bring it into your house? Then if you want to study even further, you can go to your technicons or your technicals and your universities and study electrical engineering, study IT, study computer science, understand what broadcast is, understand what IT or ICT is, and then from there, depending on your interests, you can start looking out for work opportunities. There are companies like Vodacom, MTN, Celsius who are issuing out bursaries to students who are doing well in maths and physics. They then take them and employ them. There are also companies who are recruiting after university and technicons and technical colleges. So the way of getting involved depends basically on what you are looking for. So the child who's next door, ingane khule idla irama sinkwa yabona iphuza itiye iphuza umbhubhusha, the ordinary South African can get involved in this industry by just having an interest, just knowing what to do. I mean, there's YouTube now, all of you have phones, so you can't say I don't have access. You can say, let me find out how to do this. Use your phone, research, check the internet, check your YouTubes. It will give you opportunities as and when they come about. For example, the Department of Sakulatina Tuawanda Basabantu. I don't know if you guys can recall Indaba Sabantu, but Home Affairs. The Department of Home Affairs wants to digitize. They want to catch up with the digital divide. They will be hiring 10,000 graduates, 10,000 young people over the next 5 years will be hired by the Department of Home Affairs to capture information, digitize it, and make it available to people. So there are all these opportunities out there. And unfortunately, these opportunities require you to look out for them. You must be out there. You must be the one who takes the initiative. Wena kumele ufune ukuyifuna lento. Ngeke izifike kuwena. Ngeke uze ukuhlele esikoleni bakutshele cha, ngeke bakutshele lutho. Kumele kube wena ozifunelayo information. So platforms such as this one, where they are able to convene a bootcamp, become important. It becomes vital. It becomes critical ukuthi uzihluphe wena njengomuntu ulalele ufune information la ikhona. And then coming to the first question about international certification of accreditation, yes, it is there, but it is highly specialized. The first thing you need to get, obviously, will be your degree, your diploma, or your N6. That allows you into the industry. And then, depending on your area of specialization, then you can get the international accreditation and qualifications or certificates. So that depends on area of specialization. Again, areas of specialization are huge. So we won't necessarily have all the time to be able to cover it. So yes, thank you very much. That was my little bit. I don't know if there's anyone else who would like to ask a question. Makhona abafisa ukubuza imibuzo, ningabuza noma ungakhuluma ngesizulu noma ungakhuluma ngani. Ngikhululekile ngingakwazi ukuthi ngikuphendule, ngikuchushise, ngikuchazele konke okungase mhlawumbe kudinge ukuthi ukwazi. Thank you. Anyone else?
There's one question.
All right, thank you. My name is Zanele Buthelezi. Thank you so much, Mr. David. I heard you speaking regarding the opportunities. I would like to ask about how much is the opportunities for us women in space of a business under telecommunication. Thank you.
Thank you. A question yokugcina, Mr. Davis, before you answer this one, is to ask, I know you have mentioned that say work on YouTube and internet to get information from, but since the telecom or the engineering side is mostly accommodating people who are doing physics and mathematics, so for someone who's already maybe completed a degree, maybe over the years she or he did mathematic literacy, or then they did not do physics. In terms of enrolling to colleges, is it possible that that person can enroll in a college, then do the math that he or she did not do in high school or in the university space, so that they can be able to enter to the engineering side or the telecom side? Thank you.
Answering the second question, then going to the first one about opportunities that are there for women and all of these kinds of things. Telecoms is huge. Telecoms is broad. I have only spoken about the engineering side because of the brief that I got and how I understood what is required. You don't have to be a technical person to be in telecommunications. Not at all. You can be someone who's non-technical, but have a business that runs on telecommunications. In fact, that stands on telecommunications. For example, you can be umuntu owenza catering. You can be umuntu ocleanayo. You can be umuntu who has a business yamatende, for an example. Let's say you have got a business with Daisama cake. With Daisama cake, you put out an ad on YouTube or a little video on YouTube telling people when Zama cake, send out even showing them snippets of how you bake, what ingredients you use. You put all of that on your website, on your web page. Then when people are interested, they come, they click on your web page, they see these videos of you doing this, and then they become interested. When they're interested on your web page, you've got a little part that allows them to place an order. When they place an order, we are sure to tie some scones, packet 20 liter scones, 250, for example. We are was umuntu actually quote, we would packet lama keke, 250, 20 liter logo. We has okay. Once the quote is generated, the person can pay you either via PayPal, e-wallet, or anything. So it depends on your imagination. Ungaba umuntu one business edayisa amatende or rentisa namatende, and through the internet and through using the ICT, you can be able to make your business grow and thrive. Without you being there, ngamanye amazwi awusadingi ukuthi njengomuntu ube wena ophuma ngaphandle utshela abantu ukuthi nginebhizinisi eliwukuthi ngenza ukuthi. Your whole sales, your whole advertising and marketing can be done via technology. So It's no longer like before where you need to do the hard physical work. You can focus on what you do. What are you good at? Find what you are good at and use technology to help you get your message across. I've made examples of ordinary businesses, cleaning people who can do this, abantu abawomama abadayisa nabantu be-catering. Ungahamba ufike ucaterishe kwi-event, ma ucaterisha kwi-event lapho uthatha iy'thombe, uthatha ividiyo, ubonise ukuthi wena upheka kanjani ini, uphaka kanjani, uwenza ukuthi nje into yakho ibe idonsa abantu, iheha abantu, ubonise lapho ukuthi iplate lakho wena ma ushayile uphaka kanjani, nawo amaveji akho ubeke lapho u-7 colors wakho, uthatha iy'thombe zamaplate ubeke ku-website, ubeke laphayana amavidiyo ku-YouTube and whoever. People can come. Because of ICT, people can know about your business, people can order, and then you deliver, and then you make sure things happen. So there are plenty of opportunities. Please, don't confine opportunities to ukashwa. Ukashwa is an old way of doing things. Please, run away from that. Why am I saying run away from that? COVID happened over the past 2 years. The COVID is more the old way of doing things is not necessarily the best way anymore. We've seen people who were working, employed, and because of COVID, they fell in Makaya. Some were fortunate, they were able to work from home, but others, unfortunately, got laid off, got retrenched. They can't work from home anymore. So please, don't look at opportunities in the sense yokuthi niyaqashwa kuphela, ngifuna ukuyosebenza cha. Find something that your community needs and requires. Use technology to be able to make it work, and from there you can get into a business that runs on telecommunications and allows you to make money. There are people who are now doing funny jobs like traders. Nangabuza ukuthi yini trader umuntu ohlala phambi kwekhompyutha abuka ama-stocks enyuka ehla athenge adayise. Akahlukile kunomuntu osemakethe laphaya eVictoria Embankment or everywhere ofika athenga into bese kuye ezomdayisela. Ukuthi nje yena uhleli ekhaya une-laptop, une-internet, unayo yonke into ayidingayo to be able to trade forex. So it depends on your imagination. So please, don't look at it ukuthi I need to go to school, study this and that before I can work in telecoms environment. No, that's the old way of doing things, and that's the beauty about this technology. Awudingi ukuthi uye esikoleni uyofunda. Lokho nako is enough. You just need to be creative. I only spoke about careers in the sense of ukashwa. Ukuthi uzungene Vodacom usebenze. You can't come there with hey, imeni umandla buthengisi, ngiyayithanda i-telecoms ngifuna ukungena. No, kunembandela lapho ke kufuneka isikole, unfortunately. Kufuneka umaths, kufuneka uphysics, kufunekani. Kodwa there's also sales and marketing, there's also all these other opportunities that are there, but it depends on your imagination. To come now to answer the first question with opportunities for women in telecommunications. There are many, there are plenty, but you need to know where to look. You need to understand law. For example, a platform, can be able to use its presence, its position in society, and go to the mayors and go to the councillors and go to people who are making things happen and say, Teguni municipality, sicela ukuthi mawukhipha ama-tender, 30% or 40% of ama-tender telecommunications are dedicated to abantu besifazane. The platform can be able to do that depending on its reach and its connectivity in the public sector. And through our platforms afana nalawo, ugcine sekuvela amathuba specifically for abantu besifazane. So there are plenty of opportunities out there. You just need njengabantu besifazane to keep your ears on the ground, eyes open, to be able to see them. Thank you very much. I hope I have managed to answer all questions and all are happy.
Thank you so much, Mr. Zweletu, for such an informative presentation. I think everyone here has heard the presentation very clear, and bazokwazi ukuthi nabayisebenzisa information abayithole namhlanje, and also bazosebenzisa uMzansi Connect for izinto eziningi and to connect, and because it's very important ukuthi kulama platform akanjena you make ama relations so that in future you don't know, maybe now you can be part of uMzansi Connect or some other networking company. So into esizoyenza manje, I would also like to acknowledge Deputy President we-National uZine Kunkwana osijoinile ku-program yethu osijoine through Zoom. We really appreciate your presence in this program. So our next thing esizoyenza, will break sithi ukuthola ama refreshments, matters of the stomach. We've been here since morning. I'm sure break will use it. Thank you. We'll colleague yami, woman convener will come and direct everyone ukuthi where they can get ama refreshments up. Siyabonga kakhulu. Thank you, Mr. Zwelet. Zwelakhe.
colleagues. Ngicela siqhubekeni sesiyaqeda guys, siyabonga ilunch. Bese kulambekile impela. Sesizodedela uchairperson wethu. Sizophuma nje kungekudala manje. Senze item yethu 2 from the second from the bottom. Sizodedela uComrade uNdumiso ozosichazela isihlalo wethu wePC ngoku-understanda ukuthi kuba yini kuba i-internet service provider, ibhizinisi lakhona lisebenza kanjani. Sihlalo ngicela ukudedela kwena.
Siyabonga kakhulu for today's program. Sithi womandla namandla igama amakhosikazi alibongwe. Sisalibonga amakhosikazi alibongwe. Hayi imbokodo. It's we're here just to commemorate abantu besifazane or to celebrate abantu besifazane enyangeni yabo, and that's sesifakiwe. And we appreciate that opportunity ukuthi sibe ingxenye of this program because it's all about empowering abantu besifazane ngama opportunities, and even with the skills, the technicalities of everything in the space, in the ICT space, because it's male dominated kakhulu. As chair of the session has just said ukuthi nguNdumiso mina usihlalo of Pbict, and the program yanamhlanje was more about understanding indaba telecommunications, and in terms of abantu besifazane, how can they be involved in the telecommunication and how to bridge the digital divide. We understand ukuthi Pbict is all about access and ownership. We want abantu babe ne access and also to have an ownership of this space. And we heard ukuthi most people are appropriating the land, but ukhonde ekakhulunywa with one of the speakers ukhuluma ukuthi there is imali and these are on the air, and which we need to appropriate now, because if singayazi knowledge, if singanalo ulwazi regarding that part, ngesikwazi ukuthi appropriate all of those things. So njoba sila, it's a knowledge session and also it's an empowerment session, so that everyone will be empowered. And because we understand ukuthi in this space esikusona, it's dominated by abantu abama males, and which are white dominated. So we're opening gates and city access and ownership, and we're saying internet for all. And as you all understand ukuthi emakhaya and even nasemalokishini internet into nje engaziwa. See, it's like it's consumption nje kuthina. Kufanele ukuthi uyaphuma how many gigs yebo kanti kufanele kube njalo ko New York ubutararata. Why thina sibe limited ekutheni mesizoba ne-internet kube yinto ekuthiwa uzothola 5 gig, uzothola 2 gig, yayibona nto leyo. So we want to put that to an end and say emalokishini, let us build our own networks. Abantu besifazane mabalide, and we understand ukuthi and undunankulu wethu wesifundazwe umuntu wesifazane, and we see ukuthi lenyanga let's asibhukule as abantu besifazane and take everything ezandleni zethu and change the industry and change the spaces which are male dominated, because if we don't take that charge of the opportunity esinike wona, how are we going to change everything? Because everything ilele kuthina. Hence we said namhlanje inamhlanje, things need to change, things need to start somewhere. Njoba siqala kwi-knock, not everyone has an access kwi-knock. It's something. Security account is very high. Comrade Michael can tell you at this challenge at Terako, where internet and exchange and everything is happening. Only engineers, they when banika through email ukuthi ngicela le cable le ade siphethe ngesandla uyongifakela le airport. understand ukuthi ukuthi indlela yolwazi nendlela ye-security yalezi zinto evalekeke ngayo ingakanani, and thina we're getting this opportunity singayithathi kancane. We need to grab by the hand, and lama session akusona okuqala akusona okugcina akusona okuqala nasenkonzo yabantu baseGoli. Lamathuba lawa akusona okuqala nokugcina. We're going to have these workshops, we're going to have these boot camps, we're going to have master classes, we're going to meet MTN, we're going to meet Vodacom. All these people who are playing in the space, excuse me, who are playing in the space, and so that everyone will have this opportunity. We're going to make sure we are opening these doors for everyone. Ukungabe abantu abathize abathola this opportunity. Okwami ukuthi we started this journey 2017 of SA Connect, and also understanding the telecommunication, because besibukela kude lapha. And now we're witnessing something, so we knock off something that we started from the ground up. And I'm proud of what Mzansi Community is doing. He's changing the landscape and is opening access to everyone, because we are given this opportunity. Kalula and we want to be there. No, it's easy, kanjalo. So let us not take this opportunity, comrades, Kalula, and it's for granted. I really appreciate women convener nihlanganise the program with Nobala ukuthi ibe is success. And I just want to reiterate in the esimele as Pbict, ukuthi is all about access and ownership. I don't want to send kube khona osalayo no yedwa, whether you are SMME, whether you are a professional, whether you are a student, whether we youth. These things are possible. Safika nathi singazi, I did IT. I didn't know about telecommunication ukuthi umuntu angaba ne-access kuyona kalula kanje. But I'm not saying it was easy, but okwethu kwabakalula, because there were people who were before us who opened doors easily for us, because they had to open other doors awokunzima ukuthi avuleke. Njoba desho speaker ukuthi kwakhuluma isibhunu kuphela and befuna umjomsela, yabo. So upalisa ukuthi babefuna umjomsela, because why? They want to keep this thing to themselves. Abafuna ukuthi thina sibe ne-access. They created these industries. Thina kufanele sibe ama-consumers. I remember ukuthi lapha kwi-APGM siyakhumbula ukuthi uNobhala also uchair manje waseMpumalanga wathi we need to consume and produce what we consume. We need to produce and consume what we produce. Singagcini thina kube thina esama consumers kuphela, but we need to produce these things. When we're talking about localism moja, we're saying thina yini thina singayicreate i-route. Unobhala ihlezi imkhalisa lento ukuthi yini thina singakwazi ucreate noma i-router ke noma i-router, a device nje ezi ukuthi ene i-create la e-KZN, and I like what Premier was doing while as our treasury MEC. She ran a program where this province needs to be a smart city, and we're invited. Huawei was there because we want to make KZN to be a smart city, not just a city, but a smart city, because we are talking about fourth industrial revolution. So we need to be at the forefront and be the leaders in whatever that you are doing. Singabi nje ama bystanders nomva wezinye. So I want to just encourage you, comrades, ukuthi let's take this opportunity with both hands and run with them. In the ISP space, we will have another class where we will call even Myro. Ukuthi how do you design and how do you actually identify when in the place la uhlala khona, maybe let's look at the districts, maybe uhlala le King Ejwayo. How can you identify opportunities to have your own ISP? They can actually have a plan, a wireless plan for you to identify okay, manga kama clients that will provide. udila no government, udila nezikole, udila namabhizinisi, udila nje nabantu nje ama subscribers. Wena ubheke kuphi, because we need to look at this thing like in a district level. Ngenze uhlala kamaphumulo, ngenze uhlala le ko Newcastle, there's an opportunity oyibona nakhona, and then we can actually build from small and grow. Akudingi uthi uzube nento enkulu. No, you start small. Azongaqala kuphi? Be a reseller. Starting being just a reseller, udayise nje data ema campus. Uqale neyakho nje sikuxhumele lapha ubadayisela lapha uRomza. Yayibona lento comrade Lindani ubanika idata. Yayibona lento. So we can start omakhelena beni. And njoba dasho comrade Michael ukuthi even nasemlazi there's a project ekhona. That means these things are possible. There's so much money njoba thina into esithanda ukuyenza si busy no WhatsApp, we're cheating and chatting. Yeah, but we're not making any money. Uzwini imali yenziwa MTN. You see, eyedwa, one man. Yeah? A million. You understand? So then this company, they want to buy Spectrum, and they want to monopolize this thing now. These big telcos. But keep them a billion. So that's happening. That's why we're saying it won't need to take place. And now there's something that's going to take place, which needs to be inclusive. That's why kubalekile si understand our policies. Ukuthi a draft amakwenze njani, and then how can we change these things? Because singafike sidecidelwe. How can we participate and influence? Nise nama comrades. You know, so we need to understand these things. Ukuthi wherever you are, whatever space esikusona, we need to make change. No, sisebenzele izizukulwane sethu. You see, le amanye ezinye inhlanga ayisebenzeli isisu, zisebenzela izizukulwane seyizukulwana. Njoba bafika as ama-settlers, now sekubona abaphethe umhlaba, asakwazi ukubeka amathawa manje. Sekufanele sicela kubona emhlabeni wobaba omkhulu kanjani. Sekuyithina manje ama-settlers, sekufanele siyocela. No, things need to change. So we need to understand ukuthi ngeke phela ungenawo umhlaba ngokwazi ukubeka ithawa. Fanele urente ku someone else. That's why umhlaba sudingelwa wakhe imjondolo. Si understand ukuthi there's yabo nje bakubhaliwe economy siyayifuna. Yebo ngobe yethu umhlaba wethu. Njoba sithi fourth industrial revolution, we need to be there. And participate. In the IT space, there's so much cake ekhona, but lidliwa abayingcusana. Sesithi hayi asisharishe sonke. Let us all participate. Ngiyafisa ukuthi sibe khona na kwi-GovTech, so that we'll understand ukuthi kusetshenzwa kanjani in the space, connect to seat. Admit angazi khona ufuna ukungena. You know, so those are the things, comrade, that we need to understand. This space is so big, it's so huge. Njengoba kukhulunywa nge-fourth industrial revolution, kukhuluma ngama-drones, kukhuluma nge-IoT, kukhuluma nge-blockchain, there's so much. But wena ufuna ukuspecialize kuphi? In the telco space, where do you want to specialize? As I said, the opportunities, even njengoba kukhulunywa nge-Usentech efuna ukufaka i-DTT, you know, where ama-set box ekuzofaka emakhaya, there's a space, there's an opportunity lapho ukuthi wena how can you set up that ikala nje lapho, set up your own team, abantu abawu2, yabo, ne-assistant yakhe akwazi nje ukufaka nje i-radio kulula we-eyeline, you know, so experience okay the Michael uyazi, you know, how it's done. Now you can build a team. We can even have another Saturday. Let's send a kind of physical. You know, mase kuthiwa ke-apply for it-end, usukhona now. Abantu besifazane uya ko-Nedbank uyangqongqoza nanti opportunity ngoba imali ziyakhishwa. thina abasiniki thina ngazi ngoba senzani but ke but abantu besifazane I want to emphasize this opportunities are there for abantu besifazane. Ningathatha i-back seat ngoba ethatha i-back seat uzovela nifuna ukushadwa abanye abantu bafuna ukuthola i-opportunity hayi ngoba behloseni ngoba bafuna u-access. So we need to sizenzele thina sibe wise in our thinking. Injalo comrades yilokho akuningi like nje uthi abangakabi ama members ePBICT sicela ukuthi nangu nobhala unjabulo Mhlongo uzonifaka sine groups nama group ahlukene nje adila ISP adila software adila ne blockchain adila ngento ezihlukene. When we khethela lokho kufunayo bese ziyalunga izinto sikhona for any supports anything that you want. Mufuna ukutenda reach sazoba nale session where how to tender and all those things. Any questions comrades before ngine intern yami lapha efikile comrades umuntu wesifazane you know honorary invites ngivela ngapost egroup nathi hayi waba khona. So we like to empower okwethu inhliziyo yethu nje empowerisha abantu and to give you opportunity comrades. Sizovala nje angazi any questions any comments.
Siqale sibonge nje nge-event ukuthi ibe success. Siyabonga comrade Thobile no comrade Asanda ukusilida kule program ukuthi ibe successful. I-comment nje engizoyibeka ukuthi si available ukusizana ukusiza abantu besifazane. Sikhona lokho esikwaziyo we are willing to share. Ispace isikhulu kakhulu njengoba echaza ubaba uZwakele uDavid. There's a lot nemali la futhi eningi kakhulu within the IT space nje alone. There's a lot of money eyenzakalayo. Izolo kade ngifunda i-article la Standard Bank in 6 months uspend 10 billion kwi-IT Standard Bank. So you can imagine 6 months uspend 10 billion. How much is that? So ama CEO wako MTN athola 81 million. Yabo. So file nazi information njengale ukuze nani manifuna ukwenza something within the space nazi ukuthi bakhona abantu that can assist you all. Yabo. Information ikhona out there ukuthi nje obade chaza uComrade Chair ukuthi kwesinye isikhathi we use i-data lethu for information engeke isize in the long run. So si consumer kakhulu kodwa as develop thina kukuthina sikwenzayo. Yabo. Kunale joke le engihlezi ngibuza abantu ukuthi yini uBlack Twitter. Ngangithi mina uBlack Twitter it's a Twitter application for black people. Only to find ukuthi uBlack Twitter is it's the same Twitter lo onenyone blue but ukuthi ku dominated thina kuwona and we are dissing each other there. Yabo. So as benefit lapho as abantu abamnyama. So I was off the view ukuthi uBlack Twitter is like uTwitter wethu yabo like ngihappy ngi-excited yabo lot. So angikho kakhulu ku social media yeke. So to like just to drive back home ukuthi we sifisa ukuthi abantu besifazane bangene kulesi space sinondumiso we do groom ama female interns swalekelele nje befuna experience befuna usizo yonke lonto. So it's not only about ama interns, can be anyone any age yabo lonto. Yeah, so we are available ukusizana and sikhulisana. Siyabonga. That's my comment from my side.
Can you comment? No more question? Before, I think it's been a success. We thank you for coming. Initially, No, thank you very much. Noma senihambe niemakhaya nihambe kahle. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Siyabonga. Comrade Michael for giving us the opportunity to utilize Enoch and Sibongele naku president for the opportunity. And nama speakers we really appreciate nje ukuthi basinike lesikhathi bafike and nje siyabonga kakhulu ningadina nangomuso women convener menbiza kanye nobhala sikhona sonke siyi-PEC siyabonga kakhulu. Sibonge nalaba ku virtual samukelo khomo siyabonga uzwe ubambelele kuze kube lesisikhathi siyabonga.